So I'm doing another solo backpacking trip. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's Friday. I left early and doing the Sespe, Johnston Ridge, Mutah Flat, Cedar Creek Trail, Pine Mountain Lodge Loop. At least that's the plan. We'll see. Anyway, I don't know, I got about 3 miles in, set up my tent right next to the creek. It's very pleasant. Not too many mosquitoes. It's very delightful and refreshing feeling out here. This is my view. I decided to get an early start this morning. It's 6 o'clock. I'm not as fast putting my stuff away as I used to be, probably because I drink hot coffee. So down there is where I was thinking I would camp, but I was thinking there would be a lot of people down there. And sure enough, there's a lot of people right there. So I'm glad I found my little spot. It was only like, 2 minutes before this spot. So I think it's 1 more mile to the Piru Creek, so I'm not going to be able to go swimming. It's too cold. And then the next stop would be Willits, which I'm not going to make, but I will point that out as I get there. So I guess I was only half a mile from Piru Creek. And again, tons of people here. Big swimming hole. Great place. Looks like it's going to be a wet crossing. There's a toilet out here in the middle of nowhere. I wonder if it still has a commode. Oh, look at that. I kind of have to go. Another wet foot crossing. I might be able to do it dry if I hop over there. But is it worth it? I'm already wet. So much purple. Purple sage. And yerba santa. There's a nice little side creek here. I just love this spot. I'm not sure if I can really show it from this direction, but up here it's like the perfect PCT style campsite right next to a little tiny side creek right off the trail. That's the kind of place that I would normally camp on the PCT, but not here, because these aren't PCT hikers. These are just regular hikers, and I just feel more comfortable in kind of a stealth camp situation. I've met some sketchy people up here because of all the hot springs. Another tiny creek has still got water in it, so that's good news. I think when I leave Sespe Canyon, I'm not going to carry tons of water. I'm just going to hike up there. There's a creek that runs through the meadow. I'm not sure how many miles that is, but I think I can easily do it with just like 2 liters of water. So you can see down there at the bottom, there's a trail, and it goes up. It's called the Red Reef Trail, and it goes up into those rocks. And I considered doing that this weekend instead of this big loop, but I've never done it before, and trip reports seem to suggest there were a lot of fallen trees and poison oak, and it was really brushy, so I was kind of worried about ticks. But I found photos that some guy took of that trail. They hiked up, all the way up, and then around back to the parking lot, all the way up to those cliffs there to Topa Topa. You kind of go up that way to a saddle. They camped at Ladybug, and they camped at another spot, and it was really cool. In these rocks, there's a place called, I think it's called Harris Tunnel, and it's a tunnel, like a natural tunnel in the rock. It looked really cool. Like, you know, not a real long tunnel, but I don't know, stuff like that excites me. So hopefully someday Tony and I can do it. And I've always wanted to see what was up in those rocks. I was toying with the idea of just going up there and coming back, but now I keep worrying that I'm not in good enough shape to hike as many miles as I used to, so I better stick to my itinerary. So that's kind of what I'm doing. But yeah, that place is beckoning. It's on my list of places to explore. Well, I talked to those guys that were down there on the Red Reef Trail and asked them if they had done the whole trail, but they didn't. There's a nice campsite down there. But they said that they saw somebody going up there yesterday or the day before. So I guess it's doable. And here I am, and somebody's written all over the sign. Now that the sign has writing on it that you can read, and it tells you that you're only at 1.5 miles from Willits, you don't need this landmark anymore. This is how I used to tell if I was close to Willits, was when I saw this mountain with the stripe going down the middle. That meant that the next time we dropped down to the creek, that Willits would be up the creek from where the creek crossing was. So now you got a sign. So the trail that goes up to the Willits Hot Spring is coming into view. There it is. It's pretty steep. It's got some treacherous spots, but people do it in their bare feet or flip-flops or whatever. And generally you camp in the creek below. But you can see it if you know to look right after the stripy mountain. You start looking over there to see if you can see the trail, and then you know you're getting close. So you can see all the people already camped near Willits. You can camp down there. You can camp further up in those trees below the trail. And you can camp around the corner in the creek. You kind of have to walk up the creek though to get to all those campsites. You really can't continue on the trail past the creek and then try to get there. The brush is too thick. So here's the regular trail. Here's a little side trail. Another way to get to the hot springs. You have to kind of walk really far past, farther than you think you want to go, and then find this little trail. But that'll lead you up to, there's like an old cabin, an old homestead. That'll kind of lead you to that direction. where there's even more camping. This is a really popular hot spring. It's only 10 miles from the trailhead. And then you can camp here and hike like, I think it's like 6 miles to another hot spring. So it's a really popular hike for long weekends. Fresh bear prints. I think his head is in the hole and he doesn't know I'm here. I hope he's eating a gopher. So it's about 10 o'clock and I'm not sure how many miles I've gone, but I'm nearing my low point, which will be about 2,400 feet. And then from then I have to climb up to about 5,000 feet in the afternoon, of course. It always works out, doesn't it? So I'm stopping here for a little break. I'm gonna drink some water and replenish whatever I drink. The hot spring canyon, the whole creek coming down Sespe Canyon is hot. It's drinkable, but why drink it if you don't have to? Because it's hot. Swimming hole. Wow, I'm here. So this is the junction. The Sespe Trail continues. And I didn't mention before, but this whole hike so far, I've been on the Condor Trail. And so this would be the continuation of the Condor Trail. It is a bit brushy, not very well traveled, but I'm going to go this way up the Johnston Ridge Trail. This is Sespe Creek Canyon. This is all a hot creek running through this canyon. It's about a mile, I think, to where there's a really nice pool to soak in, and the water's pretty darn hot, but not its hottest. So onward. It's about 100 degrees. It's perfect. It feels really good, even though it's kind of too hot. It's like 11:30 or something, and I'm sitting in a hot spring. But it's clean and it's refreshing and it feels good. Well, it's time to leave this lovely shady place and head out up Johnston Ridge Trail. It's about about 7 miles, I think, to where there's a creek that crosses at the far end of Mutah Meadow, and it's about 2,500 feet gained from the spot. About 2,500 feet. So I'm not sure I'll get all the way up before I stop for lunch. We'll see how far I can get, but what I remember is that it's a pretty steep and brutally hot climb. So here we go. It's a little brushy. There's where the hot water comes out. I think it's too hot to touch. Some people maybe can tolerate it, but I cannot, and I'm pretty tolerant. And then it just flows down this canyon. And sorry, this bush is in the way, but you can see over there the palm tree. That's a nice little campsite under the palm tree. One time I went down there and saw a herd of bighorn sheep. I think I see one. Hold on. Yeah, it's right down in there. There he goes. He's walking a little bit. It's a bighorn sheep. There's two more bighorn sheep right next to that circle. Oh wait, no, there's a whole bunch of them. It's really hard to see. This probably won't come out. Well, I found a little bit of shade at 2 p.m. to sit and have some lunch. And while sitting here, probably half a dozen people have come by. Apparently you can drive up to the Johnston Ridge Trailhead today. They opened the road, and so everybody's driving up to there and then hiking down to the hot springs. So I guess around Memorial Day you can do something crazy like that. Well, I was here about almost exactly a year ago, maybe a year ago last week. But I went that way on the little Mutah Trail. But this time I came from that way, and I'm headed this way. There was a lot more water last year. I'm gonna try to do 3 more miles. It's about 4 o'clock. Pretty tired, my feet hurt. I'm not in through hiker shape, and it's kind of a through hiker like day today. But I'm up here in the beautiful Sespe wilderness high country with all the trees. It smells like the Sierras. It's great. Here's my camp. I'm in a beautiful forest of sage scrub and pine trees. And the river is right down there, or the creek, Piru Creek, is right down there in the willows. And you can see the road over there. Long, hard day. I'm really hungry. Can't wait for dinner. But that's home, sweet home.